Come on, David. We're waiting for you, bud.
Happy Thursday. My name is Joanna Leone, and
Joanna, we think we lost you there.
I think we did.
She'll be back. David, were you able to get on the Zoom meeting?
Yes, I'm in. I can see Alicia and Jeff, and I can see you.
You got to turn on your video real quick.
It shows that my video is on. Can anybody else see me?
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
Perfect. I don't know what happened to Joanna.
Well, did you check your chat? She may have sent you a message.
Let's see. All right. Sounds like we're live. So, hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Wohlwend, and I am excited to be the moderator for today. We are joined by a handful of young logistic professionals, and I am very honored to be able to share with you their journey and you know, understand a little bit about where they're at in their logistics career. So, keeping with the bachelor and bachelorette theme, we have young logistics professionals tell all. So before we jump in, I wanted to do just a quick overview. For those of you that don't know me, Michael Wohlwend, based here in St. Charles, Illinois. Been in the supply chain industry for about 25, 30 years, past work president, and believe it or not, I was a young logistics professional and did a panel and a webinar not that too long ago. So I'm really honored and blessed to be here today with a new group of young professionals. So let's talk a little bit real quick. When we think about the industry, it's always interesting to find out exactly what type of industry and where you come from. So when you think about the logistics industry, we break it down to a couple categories. Practitioners, those that work for either a retailer or a wholesale distributor or a manufacturer that has warehousing capabilities. Consultants, such as myself, come in, help organizations with their supply chain. Software, whether it's warehouse management, transportation management, inventory, or slotting labor. Some sort of software that helps the supply chain industry. Equipment could be a pallet rack, could be conveyors, could be robotics, some sort of equipment that goes within your facility like fork trucks and rolling stock. And then the last is 3PL, third-party logistics. These are firms that are actually hired to do the warehousing for an organization as their expertise. So now that we know a little bit about how the industry is structured, let's talk about your role. How did you get there? And what we want to do is we want to have each of our panelists kind of just give a quick 2 to 3 minute overview, who they are, what industry they're in, where they went to school, and how they got to their first job. So first up, Alicia.
Yes, let me introduce myself, but 1 second. I just saw Benjamin chatted us and said that, he said, Michael, I think you're muted. I was able to hear you. I don't know if anyone else had trouble hearing you. Oh, he says he can hear again. Okay, never mind, we're good to go.
Thanks,
Sorry about
Alicia.
that. Yeah.
No problem.
So, yeah, thanks, Michael. My name's Alicia Hickman, and I'm the account services lead for Optricity Corporation. We are a software or warehouse optimization company selling software. So I graduated from Meredith College here in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a BS in Business Administration and with 2 minors, one in Human Resource Management and the other in Ethics and Public Interest. And Optricity, this is my first job out of college. I had an internship while I was in school, and right out of school, this is one of the first few places that I applied to, and luckily I got this job, and I've been here ever since. I love it and can't see myself leaving ever.
Well, what's interesting is not everybody, you know, finds themselves in the logistics space right out of school. So there's others just like you that, you know, studied something else, but the logistics industry is so hot and there's a lot of jobs out there. So glad you're here, and you know, you've been working with a really good company, and you're going to have a lot of success. So thanks. All right, next up, David Blanco.
Hello, my name is David Blanco, and I work at Saddle Creek Logistics. We're a 3PL company in Lakeland, Florida. A little bit of background on me. I got my bachelor's in math from Florida Southern College in Lakeland. And I basically started out as an intern during school, working for a local power company, Lakeland Electric. I got involved with a Lakeland Economic Development Council. Basically, their whole goal is bringing in young professionals to stay in Lakeland, since it's kind of a hub in between Tampa and Orlando. So people want to kind of spread out and go to Tampa and Orlando. So Lakeland, the LEDC, their job is to keep young professionals in Lakeland. So I joined their summer leadership program, which landed me a job at IGT. And then from IGT, I got recruited to come join Saddle Creek Logistics as a solution design engineer. Using some engineering, and we can talk through some of the stuff that we do later on. So welcome.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, David, did you actually get into supply chain before you get your master's in industrial engineering, given your mathematics background?
No, so I went with a math background to international game technology, which is working for the lottery, essentially. So I worked through that, and then whenever I was a quality engineer at IGT, I started my master's degree, and then I finished it out while I joined Saddle Creek. So they were gracious enough to continue to support me through that master's program, which I'm thankful for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. David, Thank you so much. All right, last but not least, Jeff.
Hi guys, I'm Jeff Sturm, currently a logistics engineer at a company called APL Logistics. We are a third-party logistics provider based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I got my education, Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Engineering at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Leveraged a family connection to get a summer internship at APL Logistics, and through more connections made through that internship, it turned into a full-time role for my first job out of college.
Oh, that's a great story, Jeff. And obviously, industrial engineer working for a 3PL. You know, we've got 2 3PLs and a software company, and then your panelist here is a consultant. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, you've only been in the industry 2 years or less. Jeff, I understand yesterday was your first year anniversary at APL, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about finding and working with a mentor. So Alicia, why don't you lead us off? Talk to us a little bit about kind of the situation you have there at Optricity. Alicia, you're muted.
Thanks for that. I am very fortunate that I get to claim the president and one of the owners of our company as being my mentor, which I can't say how many other people get to say that themselves. And working here at Optricity, so we're a smaller company. We're all based here in Raleigh, and I would say, like, in our environment, that you are exposed to mentor-like relationships because everyone, you know, always helps out where they can. There's not, I would say, a formal mentor-mentee program here, but with the subject matter experts that we have, our three owners being the main ones, and then also, our directors and like that, we're exposed to this daily, this knowledge that they have that they can provide to us. And, because my connection with Sheila clicked so well, we got along so well, it kind of fell into the relationship naturally. And since I've been working here, this August will be my second year, I've worked closely with her, and I would say we work together almost every day. And I would say weekly we talk about, my future in this industry and what we can do to get me going there, with the continuing education and such. Sheila's really provided the best insight into ways that I can improve my knowledge in this industry.
Well, you are really lucky and blessed. Not a lot of newly college graduates get a mentor that's the president and CEO of a company. So not only that, but Sheila Benny was also a past work president, and I was on the board with her. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Let's go over to you, David. So, talk to us a little bit about who your mentor is and the cadence and how often you guys meet.
Right. So I'm new to the logistics world, and so whenever I first started, I kind of walked into a position that had not yet been created for our team, and we have a very small team. And so I report to one of the solutions design managers, and he is my mentor. He's my supervisor, my manager. And basically the whole purpose here is to build me up from an engineer to eventually become a director of solutions. And it's kind of, instead of bringing somebody in with a skill set that they already have acquired through another 3PL, it's kind of building up the Saddle Creek engineering style that we want to use going forward. So with my mentor, we do kind of an agile thing daily. We meet for about 5 minutes and we go over what's the stuff that I worked on yesterday, and what do those due dates look like? What are the items I'm going to complete today, and where are any barriers that he can help me with? And after we prioritize for about those 5 minutes, I go off and running and complete the task for the day. And one of the things that he mentioned early on, within the first 2 weeks of me going, he said, I want you to set up a monthly meeting with myself and with Grady, who's our director, just to make sure that we understand what your career goals are. So yes, we want you to do X, Y, and Z, and that's why we brought you in, but we also want to see where you want to go so that we can cater to that as well. So I have a monthly meeting that we call the 5x5 Measure for Signal Clarity meeting. And so the purpose of that meeting is, my boss's name is Abhishek. Abhishek, I'm here and I want to get involved with our special lab that we're testing technology, and I want to go shadow operations throughout the network. Okay, cool. So then we're going to set up a plan for the next 2 months and do X, Y, and Z. So that just gives me an opportunity to speak to him and say, these are things that I've learned while I've been working here, and I'm actually super interested in this one thing. Can I go reach out for that? So it's a very helpful item. And then obviously the HR piece, where we're mandated at Saddle Creek to meet twice a year with our supervision, where it's a meeting that they direct towards us just to say, hey, I'm noticing that you're doing ABC really well. Maybe we can work on these other areas as well, so that by the end of the year you can meet your goals. So working closely with my mentor, and I definitely like the meeting that I'm in charge of, because it lets me set the cadence for our discussions as I continue to grow.
Nice. And it's great when you can get, a cadence like that, 5 minutes a day, and then you also have once a month, and then biannually for your HR. Chef, why don't you share with us a little bit about your kind of mentor and your cadence?
So yeah, being just about a year out of college now, I'm still continually developing those relationships with experienced professionals and our senior leadership. As a team, we're spread across the U.S. and we meet every week to discuss ongoing projects and review where we can help, where everybody needs help, and discuss best practices and things that we can look at.
And then do you guys meet together weekly, and then what's the annual kind of review process there?
So we meet weekly as an engineering team, and then I meet with my manager twice a year to discuss goals, objectives, both for the year and beyond.
That's great. Now, I didn't ask this question, but Alicia, I know obviously your mentor is there in Raleigh. David, your mentor, is it also where you're based out of in Florida, Lakeland?
Correct. Right around the corner from my office.
Nice. How about yours, Jeff?
No, kind of spread out. So I'm based in the Chicago area, and I would call my mentors the one down in Arizona and another in the Kansas City, Missouri area.
Yeah, I think, what's interesting is we start to see more and more virtual offices, right? And people working and finding the best resources and allowing them to work for where they're at. So it'll be interesting to see how that helps and progresses with the mentorship. Okay, so let's move to the second topic here. So the art of establishing a strong network, thinking about social media today and the ability to leverage these tools for networking. I want to start with you, Jeff. You had said that you actually had a family member that actually knew somebody at APL. Talk to us a little bit about how you leveraged that to get your first job, and then more importantly, what tool do you use in regards to your networking activities?
Yep. So as far as my first internship, at the time, APL Logistics was looking for industrial engineering support, and I had a family member who connected me with the VP of engineering at the time, and we were able to work out a plan for me to work for a summer. As far as tools that I use in social networking, I use LinkedIn quite a bit. It allows me to leverage my alumni group from the University of Wisconsin, and also people within my organization and in the same industry.
Very cool. How about you, Alicia? Which of these social media tools do you use for your networking?
Use the most. So I probably get on LinkedIn every day, or almost every other day, I would say. So I do use LinkedIn a lot. Our company has a LinkedIn page, so one for personal business reasons, and then for, I guess, grander business reasons. We post updates on there. Come join us for a webinar, a demo, and then even for connecting with people that I've met at conferences, just staying in touch with people. It's also a nice resource to know when, someone might have moved to a different company and things like that. I'll also say I'll throw in the work app, because that's probably one of my favorite app or applications when it's live during the work conferences to use, because it's very easy to use, and everyone from every industry that's interested in improving warehousing is right there at your fingertips. So,
well, we'll talk a little bit about the work app here in a minute. So thanks for bringing that up. David, you had a very interesting networking story on how you got your internship and your job. Can you share with us kind of how you used your network, number one, and then two, tell us which of these tools that you use?
Yeah, for sure. So again, I graduated from Florida Southern College, and our one of the mottos that they have in the Career Center there is that every student is guaranteed an internship. And so I applied for an internship at the power company, and I got it. As I was ending my internship at Lakeland Electric, my supervisor, I said, please let me work here. I need a job. I just got married. I want to start working full time. She was like, no, I need you to go do something better. So she got me connected with Lakeland Economic Development Council, which turns out was one of my friends from high school. His dad was like the guy who ran it all. So I talked to Steve Scruggs, and I said, Mr. Scruggs, I really need this internship just so I can go meet different things in Lakeland, because this is where I want to stay. So on my way to like different site visits, we got to go see Publix, we got to go see Southern Wine, and one of the visits was IGT. And the guy who was in charge of the facility at the time, his name was Steve, he was also a math major from Brown. And he asked a math question that is one of those, like if you have a math degree, you always hear this question. It's like supposed to be a trick question. But anyway, I answered the question correctly, and he's like, how did you know that? Because I'm a math major. And so we got to talking, I got an interview. And so through that internship, I got my first full-time job at IGT. And while I was working at IGT, a guy from my church came to work with us, and we became really good friends. And eventually his wife went on to move to Saddle Creek, and that's where I met, that's where I saw this opportunity. She sent me an email and she said, hey, I think this would be a good fit for you. And I met with Grady, who's the director, and then I met with Abhishek and the whole team, and that's how I got to Saddle Creek. So it was more of a who I knew at the moment, because I've been in Lakeland for 20 plus years, so just being here allows me to I guess, leverage that network there. As for the social media piece, LinkedIn, and Jeff mentioned something yesterday about reaching out to his alumni for the University of Wisconsin, and I actually went to go look it up for USF, and sure enough, there are networks there, so I checked that out yesterday.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So all the way across the board, all three of you guys use LinkedIn as your social media network, which is great for networking. And then both you and Jeff, David, got jobs because of who you knew, but you also had to have the logistics background or the math background to get there. Alicia found herself looking for a position and got into the supply chain industry. So I'm going to go back to you for a second, Alicia. You had talked a little bit about the Work National Conference, and ironically, I sit before you today because I went to the local work chapter here in Chicago as a college student, and I met a gentleman by the name of Ron Hounsel, and lo and behold, that's how I got my first job as an industrial engineer right out of school, working for Ron Hounsel at Tom Zoll's Associates. So, you know, I believe that work provides a great networking environment, especially for us young professionals to try and further our careers. So, Alicia, talk to me a little bit about which work events you've been to and how they benefited.
Yes. So, and I've been to a handful of work conferences now. My first one being the national, no, it's in North Texas, sorry. So I've been to the North Texas Work Conference last year. We've also been to some local North Carolina Work Council events here that we've hosted, just networking events, more casual, along with two of the national conferences that I've joined. So a handful of the work conferences, which I love, and you know, and we go to other conferences that are more industry specific, but I love going to work because, especially from someone who had no supply chain background or logistics, warehousing at all, work is the most, hands down most, provides the most education, and along with, the network that you're exposed to as well. So I would have to say that along with all the information and knowledge that I'm able to gather while I'm attending these conferences, it's also amazing meeting these, these stakeholders, and you meet CEOs of companies that you're talking to, and you also meet people who are, in business development or account services like you. So you're exposed to a variety of industries with in one focus of a goal while we're all there, which is, optimizing, improving our warehouses and learning what we can do to better there.
So talk a little bit about what happened. You met an individual at one conference, you saw him again, and I think all of us in warehousing are really excited to show off our warehouses. So talk to me about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if I can name drop or not, but yes. So and this is a company that they're I guess they would be involved in the Arizona local council. And I think I've crossed paths with them at the national conferences multiple times, and so seeing familiar faces, and then meeting this contact at the first conference, and then we continued building our relationship throughout. And I got to see him next time, and that triggered a conversation where we were invited to visit his facility, and that was great for me. That was probably one of the second facilities I got to walk into after working for this company. And that's always, that was amazing to me. I didn't even know that I would ever have the opportunity to walk through facilities casually as well too. It's nothing to them, and they love to show, what's going on inside of their warehouse.
Yeah, I actually met a gentleman by the name of Dan Beard, probably 3 or 4 work annual conferences ago. And the company is Cooper's Hawk. So if you guys ever have gone to a Cooper's Hawk restaurant, they're based here in Chicago. And he's like, hey, you want to come by? I'm like, absolutely. I'd love to see the workings behind all these restaurants. So it was really cool. So that's great. So work can actually help you with your networking. Let's talk a little bit about the hot topic that's facing your company today, right? So we're all in warehousing. We got 4 resources. We got space, we got equipment, we got labor, we got control, right? How do you maximize your 4 assets within your warehouse? So David, I'm going to start with you. Talk to me a little bit about Saddle Creek and what are some of the hot topics that are happening right now?
For sure. So again, Saddle Creek is a 3PL, so it's a third-party logistics company where we basically manage the business unit of a customer, and they say that we need you to store and ship this product to X locations throughout the nation. And so we put together a solution. We go through a BRD session where we collect requirements, and then we implement the solution in one of our warehouses throughout the country. And so basically the hot topics for us, which I'm sure will be similar for Jeff, are labor constraints as we continue to grow into these markets where you want to get kind of a centralized location where your customer needs are. But in that labor pool that you're pulling from, you might have big competition or might be in the middle of nowhere. And then obviously automation and technology to help mitigate some of that labor cost that you would have during that ramp up time period while you're operating that business. So those are our 2 big initiatives for this year, and then obviously ongoing. We have teams put together to validate different technologies and to put together a labor plan that will make us competitive in the marketplace. Everyone talks about this Amazon effect. And so how do we become competitive during that, during this era that we're existing in right now?
So David, obviously labor is a big part of it, and ROI on technology, validating new technologies. Talk to me about the labor for a minute. I think you were sharing with me that you might have one customer that has a requirement of 150 people for the first week of the month. How do you guys plan for that? What are you guys doing to help address that?
So whenever we put together these solutions with a customer, we have a customer based out of Charlotte and out of Fort Worth, Texas, that in that first week of the month, they ship out 3 million orders. And then they kind of peters out towards that second week. And then third and fourth week are purely downtime where we basically set up for that next month. And then we have a huge influx of people coming in. So initially the solution was you bring in 40 people, right? But their business exploded. And so now we're up to bringing in that 100, 150 people, most of which are temps and some of which you actually bring in from local, like we have different campuses in the area. And so you'll bring in from the other buildings for that week time frame. And then that experienced labor will help us get over the hump. But to your point, we would bring in these 100 people to process the work. And so we're looking at different technological solutions that we can use to help us kitting or to help us process the orders. That'll help us with the auto bagging or the label application, just to help us get that productivity higher where we won't need as much labor. Because obviously we'll have other solutions for other customers that we're going to need that labor for. But if we've sucked out the entire labor market to do just this one customer, it might not be in the best benefit for us moving forward, right?
Yeah, you had talked about developing ROI for technology such as automated storage and retrieval systems, maybe some carousel, conveyor, and A-frame. The good news is the cost of technology is going down. The bad news is the cost of labor is going up, but they'll find that happy space or that tipping point where they'll be able to start to justify investment in technology over labor. So thank you for sharing. Let's go over to Jeff. Jeff, talk to me. What's the hot topics facing APL today?
Yeah, it's very similar to what David mentioned with the workforce stability. Unemployment rates in a lot of our locations are very low. Wages are growing substantially due to things like the Amazon effect. So we're all right now looking for a number of different solutions to handle that, whether it be automation or different things. Really, it's come down to when's that point that we can start to justify some of these automated solutions, and when do they become more beneficial?
Yeah, now you say the Amazon effect, and I want to define that, right? So I think both you and David talked about the Amazon effect with regards to labor. So Amazon's gone on record. They're going to pay their employees $15 an hour, and in some markets, that's substantially higher than what the warehouse worker was typically getting. So when we talk about the warehouse effect from Amazon, it's really about the labor and the labor rate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you had talked about another impact, the tariff. So, you know, obviously being a global 3PL and the potential tariff impact, what did that do to you in your operations?
So we saw pre-tariffs, especially when it came to customers who bring product in from China to the United States. We saw a lot of inbound volume pre-tariff, and that caused a little bit of problems with being able to have the space to handle all that product. Since the tariffs have been implemented, it's stabilized a bit, but now I think we're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next.
So it sounds like some of my other clients, they were experiencing peak volume in a non-peak volume time. Everybody was trying to bring it in before the tariffs. So it was maybe a false sense of urgency from our President Trump there. All right, automation. So you had said you guys have some automation under effect. I know you guys are running with a tier 1 WMS. I know you guys did an exoskeleton test. I know that you guys are looking at some installing some conveyors to help reduce the travel and some robotics. What are you guys seeing with regards to hot topics? Is this something that you APL are trying to do to get new clients, or is this your clients are asking you to invest in these technologies? Where's it coming from?
It's really both. We want to be known as the innovator in our market. We want to be on the cutting edge as much as we can. Obviously, you know, we want proven solutions, and we want things that we can pilot test and be able to have confidence in. But we want to, some of our current customers have some needs for things like different softwares and conveyors, but also we want to be able to go to some new clients and say, hey, we've got proven track records with these solutions. We've got the ability to implement them quickly and very flexibly.
Yeah, not to show my age, but probably 8 to 10 years ago, a lot of 3PLs didn't even need a warehouse management system. Today, most of your 3PLs, it's a given. You've got a WMS and then some sort of other type of automation based on the industry. So it's amazing how it's going. All right, let's go over to you, Alicia. So Optricity, you guys have got 450 sites in 28 countries around the world. What's the hot topic you guys are working on or helping your clients with?
Well, not to be duplicative, but I would say Amazon effect was one of my bullets as well. But working for a company that optimizes warehouses in all industries, of course, we see many different types of challenges. But one of the most common, or the ones that I'm hearing of the most, would have to be an effect of the e-commerce boom and people wanting to, get their product to the consumer or the customer as soon as possible, and keeping all the inventory in there as well, so the replenishment as well. So really just on top of the Amazon effect. That's where I was going to go.
So now your Amazon effect is different than what David and Jeff were talking about, where Amazon went out and said $15 an hour. I think what you're helping organizations with is the fact that now if you order by 5 or 6 p.m., and their ability to increase throughput through the facility to be able to ship it and get it to their customer the next day, right?
Right. How can we do that? And then really common now that, this laying out your facility to be retail friendly or store friendly. So that will also improve getting the product there and then unloading to the store too more efficiently. I feel like that's something that we hear a lot more now too.
So talk to me a little bit about that. So retail customers are saying, hey, I want a store-friendly pallet. What does that mean?
So, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, but from what I believe, a store-friendly pallet would be so a customer they're going to be shipping directly to this site, to wherever, and they want their pallets laid out so that once it's loaded onto the truck, it's, you know, ready to be unloaded as is into the store. You know, less, right, touches.
So rather than, you know, having your you know, pallet travel through the grocery store all over to unload it, they want it by section or by zone so that they minimize the travel within the stores to, you know, not injure customers if they're replenishing during the day, but obviously trying to minimize on retail labor versus warehouse labor.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. What about, I think you were telling me a little bit, Alicia, that some of your customers have that same labor issue, that peak week, that first week of the month with some high volume. How is that being addressed?
So, yeah, we have a couple, we have someone talking to us right now, a prospect and a customer as well, with similar situations where they have about 60 to 70% of their volume, you know, in the first half of their month. And so using OptiSlot, we help them develop a pick module where during that, that first peak week, they will have 16 people, and then in the non-peak, we can apply 4 people so that we can create a slotting environment to balance the labor on the pick modules.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I got to tell you, you know, thinking about 60 to 70% of your volume in that first week, and you know, having to ramp up 150 people for 3 million orders, that's an interesting requirement. So anything to help with that, that's kind of a unique requirement within supply chain on a daily basis.
It is.
So let me net it out for us, right? So we've got, you know, 3 young panelists, 1 mathematician that moved over to engineering, 1 that became industrial engineer, and 1 that was HR focused and now is in supply chain. So very interesting backgrounds, and you guys have all been here between 1 and 3 years. Second is, you know, very, very good use of networking. So it's not as much about what you know, it's about who you know. You guys were able to leverage your network to get your internships, with the exception of Alicia. But Alicia has been using the work network to go see warehouses and keep good relations. And then LinkedIn. So, you know, unanimous across the board, LinkedIn is the social media platform for all of you. And then with regards to hot topics, the Amazon effect, whether it's the labor hourly rate effect or the ability to get more volume out in a shorter period of time to address customers' needs next day, and the use of automation. So the cost of labor going up, the cost of automation going down, we're going to start to see more and more automation in the warehouse and distribution industry. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time. What I want to do now is I want to see if there's any questions. So I'm going to go over to the chat and see if there's anything out there. I do not see any questions as of right now. Joanna, have you gotten any questions for us?
I have.
You have?
Hmm. Can't hear her.
All right. We'll wait a couple seconds here for questions. But again, I got to tell you, you know, I too leveraged WERC, the network, built a good relationship, and I'm really excited, obviously, for you guys to enter into an industry that I'm very passionate about and continues to grow. Speaking of, the Work 2020 conference is going to be in Providence, Rhode Island, May 3rd through the 6th. So if you or your company has a really good case study or a presentation, please feel free to submit your proposal. The one thing about the Work conference, unlike other conferences, is 90% of the speeches are done by practitioners, so people that are receiving, storing, picking, shipping on a daily basis out there. All right, I will check one more time to see if there's any questions here. I don't see any. So at this time, I'm going to actually end the session, and I want to thank you all for taking the time and energy. Alicia, David, Jeff, thank you guys for being able to share your story with the rest of the Work membership, and we appreciate everything you guys do for us on a daily basis, and keep going. Obviously, you know, work is important, and so is networking. So thank you guys very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like we might have a chat. Hold on, let's see if we got one question.
They said
Oh,
thank you.
thanks for all the information. Yeah, so for those of you attending, this has been recorded and we will be able to send it out if you guys want to share it or re-listen to it. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for your time and effort today. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.